what gift have you bestowed onto me? This is Troublesome Times. Unscripted, unedited, all done in one take. Because it's so easy, right? Since everyone else has a podcast, I might as well have one too. And the reason I brought that opening line this time is because since my birthday is at the end of the month, that means I have to friendly remind people on a regular basis when my said birthday will be, so that people can give me a nice, sweet, thoughtful gift for me, and definitely not made at the last minute. And believe it or not, that really does happen if I don't do that. And so for those who are born in like the beginning or the middle of the month on your birthday, consider yourselves lucky. Oh man. I'm gonna be honest, I haven't made any kind of fun little videos. Pretty much because I am still dealing with the fact that this video will be the last one I have made in my 20s, unless I decide to film something ahead of time again. So, that turned out a lot better than I thought. And you know what? It's almost a 2-year anniversary of this podcast that I've done. It's not even funny how many people have podcasts, these online figures. It's almost like it's very incredibly easy to sit and talk yourselves, especially among others. And shoot, who would I want to pick as my co-host? Well, I guess we'll bring them up later. But so I will say, oh yeah, I almost had it there. Something that going back to university way later than I should have. I guess long story short, since I was going to become a doctor in another major and then deciding to switch that out. Well, I got my degree, my current degree at the age of 21. That's going to upgrade to a bachelor's by not as soon as I could have been. But yeah, so I got my current degree at the age of 21 and I was going to become a doctor in something I think it's very interesting because my original major, it was something that was set up for me since I was in high school, and they estimated that I would have been one of the best kind of specialty workers. I'd gonna refer to this as one of the greatest I could have been. Like, had really full potential there. And so what ended up stopping me is like, then all of a sudden, a lot of times it's hard to balance like the online celebrity life or whatever you want to call it. That ended up becoming like pretty much permanent when I was like 25. And then a lot of stuff happened. Funny enough, when you see like the OGs of the online public figures, it's kind of like a cautionary tale. So that was one of the reasons I did it. Decided to do a major that I was pretty passionate in. And I gotta say, I've been in a lot of communities, and I'm sure some of you, who I'll refer to as the Frosties in this context, have probably thought to yourselves at one time, yeah, the name Wonderland's very meaningful for you, because I have dealt in a lot of communities throughout this little fun time that we've had together. And I gotta say, the literature community has to be one of the most brutal I have been. Like, I know I'm serious, like, for a lot of stuff, and it's pretty much because you have to really know the material that you're referencing, and then you have to cite it correctly. In fact, I'm pretty sure there's a couple of people that I kind of feel bad for. They're both very passionate about the subjects they are. I mean, they're pretty open-minded. I feel really, really bad for sometimes. Like, I think they eventually heard at one point I returned my thought process as like a popcorn machine for my brain. It's like the popcorn is the ideas, and then every time I express myself, I feel like really bad for this one guy in particular. This one man in particular that I have been meeting on an almost regular basis for about almost 2 years at this point. I just like to say we enjoy our moments together as long as little spear, and it's never too late to go back and finish your studies, by the way. And definitely do not do the studies you really want to do. That's otherwise you're going to be like in your late 30s pushing 40 saying I had this amazing job with amazing money, this great amazing thing, but I want to do something I love. I mean, I guess I got that hit sooner or later. Maybe that's what happens when you're one of the youngest in around your socialization community, whatever they call it, your social atmosphere, whatever. And so you get to see what happens to your company for as an example. Great. So, woo! Yeah, normally I would have a lot on my mind, but this is kind of like a milestone kind of podcast for me. So I really, really, really think that just want to get it all out there. Not everything has to be written down on a piece of paper. What? Otherwise, it's always going to end up being kind of formulaic, I should say. So as I was saying, I feel pretty bad because when I do write down a lot of stuff in my papers, I actually communicate better through writing than verbally. And so I feel kind of bad because when they have to proofread this, a lot of times I've had gone, okay, what did you do? What did you mean by this? And so that's a big thing I always had to work on. I feel pretty bad for this man in particular. Like I seem to come up with a pretty great ideas. I know it's like kind of part of the job or something like that, but it's not every day you get to have someone have some idea what you're talking about, right? In some way. I don't know. And then there's another person in particular, and I'd say, I think it's very pretty, this one vibes pretty easily with. And I think this gotta be like a year and a half by now, almost a year, or at least over a year. Spent almost a year literally studying medieval literature. And I'm pretty open to all this new stuff and whatever, and so it's very interesting. I learned a lot of new terminology. So, this is the great part where I'm going to introduce you the concept of what I like to describe as Butt Trumpet Man. Butt Trumpet Man is a very, very interesting enigma in medieval manuscripts. What is the reason for it? I don't know, but I do think we got to bring stuff like that back. Who knew? There was always ideas that came back centuries before, but because some online figures like to give you this idea that they uphold the most knowledge, that nothing else matters and you should blindly trust everything they say, right? That's so boring. How if you know everything, then gosh, where's all the fun gonna be? Just learn all this new stuff. I don't know. That's just whatever my take, right? Oh, this has been a pretty wild yearish, I'm gonna say. So, and what else do I got? Plenty of stuff. That got me thinking I'm sure a lot of people are assuming that I'm going to teach in a subject. One day I decided to give that a great idea of a try. And I now am pretty sure what it is. I have gave it a shot in studying history, particularly related in the animation genre. Why? Because I have noted that while the majority of us have lived to see animation evolve, there is not enough history to preserve it. And I'll have to blame one person, the pioneer of animation, Émile Reynaud. Might have mispronounced that, but there's a reason why I'm bringing up this name right now. To any aspiring creative types out there, I will tell you this right now, and this man that I just cited should be the reason why. If, no matter how bad things ever get, I'm thinking of the worst thing that you can possibly think of, multiply that by 100, even if it gets like that, do not ever think to ever just get rid of all of your work. Okay? Do not do what Emile Renault did and then dump all your animations in the river because things got too real. Otherwise, you're going to have somebody that's going to be seething that we have missed an early history of animation that's involved. So, I'm sure I'm sharing this little bit of wisdom, a bit of trivia, and you know what? It seems to hit with the majority of people. So I'm sure a lot of things will be telling you right now. And here's another issue I've been finding with a lot of the studies, these history studies I'm finding out. It's I don't want to call it bias, but I think it's a little bit like you see the syllabus, you see the stuff they're studying, and I will say I think it's very telling of what they're passionate about, and that's why I'm trying to do this no joke, this timeline of the history that's by year, by country. I'm not excluding nothing. I'm doing it mainly by year, and I'm trying as much as I can from everywhere. And why? Because a lot of stuff's been pretty amazing. So, it is very easy to assume that the first animation style is stop motion, or even traditional animation, which is cell animation, where they draw these little sheets of paper, and then they repeat it page by page by page by page, and then they get like the plane camera, and then they move that ever, and then the backgrounds are painted, and they move each cell of the character frame by frame. Sure, that's easy to assume why, considering the styles of the earliest cartoons you can think of. But I'd say the earliest animation is cutout animation. And the closest thing you can find a resemblance to that is South Park. That's supposed to resemble cutout animation. And that is because the roots of history is that the cutout animation was done for usually shadow plays at the time. And those were things that were held up in the air and they were all supposed to move and dance and stuff like that. Or maybe even marionettes or puppets. The little on the strings back then. Though I would say that's probably the first real animation style. Or with Emile Renault, it's probably flipbook animation. Whatever I can find. So I found out that nearby, and this is one of the things on my bucket list, is go somewhere out of state. That included is going to be 2 indie animation screenings. And to those elitists, those so-called gatekeepers or whatever, it's not beneath me to see stuff like that. Because if you ever look at the history of your favorite cartoons, a lot of these cartoons actually had a screening like a few years before it was officially released. Now, a lot of the stuff I'm doing is officially released because the ones that are like the prototype, the screening are usually vastly different from the original version. So I know a lot of that stuff might be not completely accurate per se, but I'd say it's more like the draft version of the cartoon. The prototype, whatever it is. That's what it is. And it really says a lot about me where I'm going to is that I have seen like pretty all the guests on the list and I know every single one of them. Yeah, so I know who the voice actor of Score Bunny is. And other various types of Pokemon. And yes, I know that Johnny Young Bosch is going to be at... You already know that. Just by me name dropping one of the guests. You already know where it is. And don't worry, I'm pretty familiar. I was going to choose between New York for the Harry Potter and the Cursed Child or this place. And I am pretty familiar with the area. Have you ever seen my previous podcast or whenever I talk to anyone? I actually spent like a lot of my childhood there. Like, I mean, after a while, it's fun being at Disney, but after a while, you know where Disney's like. So, and funny enough, my mom was actually in Georgia before she met my dad here in Florida. So, did just pretty much like told myself where I'm going. So then we didn't go to just down Metro Atlanta. We also went to Stone Mountain. And that was during the winters and the summers. And I gotta say, like, when I actually left Atlanta for the first time ever, it was like a huge culture shock to me at all. So that was really something. But, oddly enough, it's still like I think it's still like pretty fire, pretty underrated. And it's kind of weird to see that climate change, especially now that since there's more like stuff being filmed there, whatever. I ought to say though, I was kind of hoping for Yuri Lowenthal to show up, but it doesn't look like it's gonna happen. But it's okay. It's okay. I don't think I'm ready I don't think I'm ready to just have Yuri Lowenthal senpai notice me yet. Johnny Young Bosch, like, I think I'll be cool, like, composed around, because I don't know, he was more like something my cousins and this and wherever they're more into for some reason. I don't know. Maybe he was like kind of a heartthrob back then. I can't say. I was like seriously a very, very young child. I'm talking about like preschool age when the OG Power Rangers, so Mighty Morphin Power Rangers came out. So you're gonna have to forgive me if I ended up getting wrong on that one. I can only say I'm like the spectator of what the 2000 teenage appeal was like. I'll be very candid about that. So yeah, it's gonna be fun. I kind of have a feeling that because it seems like I've noticed right now. I'm sure eventually you'll read my current page, which I decided to do because I'm all my posts have gotten buried in the account I use on Facebook. So I made a page for that, and so this particular group these people I have encountered, I like to call the low-key Frosties. See, this is what happens when you end up having some sort of a fan base. They tend to imitate a lot of behaviors that you do, whether you realize it or not. And so imagine people trying to try to do a me on me. And it feels like when that one part in Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, and Snape is just seething at Harry, go, "You dare use my spells on me, Potter." That's kind of what I'm thinking of in my head. Not a bad thing. I just think it's very interesting that the low-key Frosties are talking to me with big smiles on their faces. I'm doing a casual conversation, nodding my head and whatever. Next thing I know, realized, yeah, they exactly knew who I was. The famous, funny, little local, I guess, whatever. I wish I was making up, but it's been happening a lot of times. I noticed something has been happening around, like, I'm going to say the convenience store I frequent. I don't want to say what it is, because I know that's going to give out a lot of stuff away, my whereabouts. And I will say that, yes, I've seen it. And yeah, and it'd be, you think they're gonna eventually say, "Oh yeah, I was the one who put it there." It's nothing very adult, okay? Otherwise, that would have definitely gotten me for sure. And even then, I don't even know that would have been a guarantee. But it was an animated character outside of the convenience store I frequent. Or at least they were able to frequent since I've been there multiple times, blah, 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 right? Like, so, yeah, that was the biggest thing for me. And then whenever Courage comes out, they also realize that this must have been me. And I think people are starting to notice Muriel too. Because there's like a bunch of animals that visit my yard a lot. And I think they realized which like one that was her. That's the cat that visits my yard. Please do not harm them. In fact, like all three of them were actually laying outside of right nearby the other day. So, low-key Frosties. And it's very funny because I also recall a low-key Frosties. Because around this time, the Deadpool and Wolverine had came out. And more than once, I can tell like the people that were around my age and older, they loved the movie. That was a lot. And then the people that were around my age or younger were saying, "Oh, it was okay. Sure, whatever." And then one straight up said, "Oh, I didn't like it. Too many jokes in between." And then this got me realizing it could be possible that I have experienced a Seinfeld is unfunny moment. That is a phrase that's used to describe something that when looked upon now, it's considered very, very predictable. But back when it was out, it wasn't. It was like a pioneer of the time. And so that usually happens because the people that have seen it, it's like I said, it's like when my former theater teacher said, when something great comes out, there will inevitably be imitators. That's exactly what happens. And so, when it came to Deadpool, it seemed like what happened is that a lot of people liked the concept, which is acknowledging the fourth wall at all, which means realizing that they're a fictional character, and then realizing that there is someone reading the story. That was a pioneer. And then now, some people, probably me, definitely, have noticed what the predecessors have been missing and realize, while that is a great device to use, it did not impact the plot or character development at all. And so, somewhere in my popcorn bucket brain, I have imagined the persona as, funny enough, one of the cartoon characters. For best reference, you can also do Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Reanimated, or what's that one cool? Or maybe even the Betty Boop cartoons. So I imagine with this this fourth wall crossover would take advantage of it and basically exploit the heck out of it out of boredom. And a lot of times it's uses it as a Deus Ex Machina, has hero beat SODs, and perhaps finds pretty much just wants to not get their soul sucked away from the boredom. It has been very interesting, and I am doing this long enough because one of the people I liked, I watched since I was 15. I'm surprised a lot of people try to get me to name drop him, but very, very fun game. It's a very good challenge, I promise you. So the reason I haven't name dropped him specifically is I'm gonna be really real with you right now. You're always angry anyway. Is because that eternal angry one has their pride. That's be real. And so yes, I have definitely not linked any videos to any people several times about pretty good takes, and I don't know where the heck the showering idea has came from, and I did not have read so many comments in this section that people are saying that they shower while listening to music and videos in the background. I do not know where that I would have gotten that idea. It is definitely 100% earned, and I had never, ever promoted any videos as far as the public is aware. That is, and the reason I'd like to say is not because that I just feel like, I know when to pick my battles, and I don't think trying to out teach the sensei is a very smart move. Just it's also not a good idea to mistreat your fans who know you in more ways than they possibly know, and then when they want to retaliate for my mistreatment, my ass will be handed to me, right? I have a feeling there are some people that be watching this, and wow, I made it this long without mentioning a bunch of big names. But it's also because it's not like I want to use their names and repeat them over and over just to get any clout on them, right? And maybe that seemed like that before, right? But that's when I really, really stopped messing around with people and, basically admitted I wasn't being serious with all this stuff. And then I'm showing that despite all the jokes I do make, I do have some capability in my videos, right? It's not like I can sit for hours on live streams and then get paid $20 by each person just to hear them talk and hear what they want to hear and to please an agenda, right? God, you know what's the best part about this all? Is that, yeah, sure, even though I don't name drop them, I don't pull any punches either way. And you know the beauty of this is that I really don't give a fuck if they find out. In fact, it's the opposite. I exactly want whoever I'm name dropping to find out everything I've been saying and doing, even if it's under their noses. That is the best cherry on top about this whole thing. I mean, I don't really care who it is. I mean, God, which blonde haired, blue eyed white guy that's definitely taller than me, that's definitely lives above North me, and is definitely bigger than me, and is probably got me, probably beat me at my own game one too many times, and has definitely, probably at one point, has acknowledged me in the same subtle manner than I did. That's the beauty. I just don't care. I really don't care. And that's the best part. Is like, I don't care what they found out what I said. I don't care what they find out what they do. I don't care that they know a lot of stuff about me and what they do with it. Like, that's the beauty of this thing. That's the worst kind of person you can ever face if you're going up against someone at all, which you shouldn't with me. Is that that person that does not care what's going to happen. And that's the thing, is like, I think like the best thing about this is like, none of this ever phased me. And it seems like suspiciously specific denial, but that's the hardcore truth. Because if I ever had, trust me, this definitely wouldn't have gone on as long as I did. All my little antics, just so my soul doesn't get sucked away from the boredom, and to boost mediocre channels. By the way, never, ever give your rights away to a multi-channel network. Nobody wins. Not even you. And definitely not the peer person that's going to watch it. Because it'll be boring. It'll be so boring. Wow. This has been the pretty best part. It's a way to go out in the bang in the very last video of my 20s. Oh, man. I'm too young to have a midlife crisis. I'm not gonna have it anytime soon. Nope, way too young for that. I'll definitely wait until I'm 65 for that day. Oh, and then that's the part I'm gonna have to go and beg Vic me on. It's like, what do I do? How do you handle this lifestyle for so long? Please, good Vic Mignogna. Good Vic Mignogna, if you tell me your secrets. Oh, man. Well, I mean, oh, and I should say, I guess there's one more part. It got a little sidetracked because of my popcorn bucket brain, but believe it or not, I'm sure a lot of you are probably wondering what I'm like when I'm talking with other people, and I say the main difference between hearing me talk alone and hearing me talk with others is just like, I can get my thoughts more organized in a way, because then other people are able to speak and say and bring up a point. But other than that, I don't, and I guess say I don't really have like the main character syndrome. If anything, I describe like my kind of moment is like a moment in the limelight kind of thing. Not even like breakout character or even an ensemble dark horse. I'm more like a moment in the limelight kind of thing. So, anyway, what is the reason why I am definitely going to the said place? The not place that people definitely will figure out sooner than later. So, I'm definitely not a team player. It's mostly because I don't know how. I still don't. I don't know when I'm ever going to learn how to be one. But I do want to see, like, if this is really going to be very useful for the people that I'm going to be surrounded by. And if it does, I think that my plans to to make sure that the history of the animations department is truly gonna be recognized for all the impact that they have made for millions out there. So, that was easy, right? I just did a podcast and anyone can make it, and I just did it again. So, it's not been easy for me to say goodbyes, but I'll be back here sooner than later, and then before you know it, it's gonna be another fun, wild ride. So, bye-bye.